Hi, I'm Coach Jamie Dreyer from Overhaul Training. In this video, I'm going to show you how to release trigger points from a tight levator scapulae muscle. But first, let's use a little something I like to call Latin arithmetic to understand where and what the levator scapulae is. All right. First word, levator, very easily translates to elevate. Scapulae translates to scapula, which is that little wing bone on your back. So when you put them together, it very easily equals elevate the scapula. That gives you a rough idea of where this muscle is attached. But let's go more specific. So the upper attachments look kind of like the lines coming off a distributor cap from the side of your cervical spine. So your top four vertebrae, the muscle comes right off the side in four different lines. And then once it makes its way down to about here, the muscle actually flips and then starts to blend into one flat muscle together. And then as it comes down, here's the top inside border of my scapula. If I go just below that point, this is where the levator scapulae attaches. So obviously, when it contracts, it's going to pull the scapula, up into elevation. But also, because it's just attached to the one side and not the other thing that the muscle can do is cause downward rotation of the scapula. It also helps a little bit with some rotation and extension of the neck, but not a whole lot. So what are some things that could cause trigger points in this muscle? Well, carrying around a heavy purse or perhaps a satchel of bricks. Usually if you're walking around with a purse or a bag or a backpack or something, it's going to happen for more than a few seconds. It's going to be minutes, maybe an hour or two every day. It's going to be a pretty common occurrence. And this weight is going to cause depression of the whole shoulder. And because the levator scapulae is attached to it, the part of the shoulder girdle, that's going to have a lot of tension running through it. So that muscle is going to hold on to try and keep it in place, and also you're going to engage it so your bag doesn't slide off the side. Over time, that gives you your trigger points. And from there, with those trigger points, because it's attached to the cervical spine, you can end up with a bit of a stiff neck. What to do about it? All right, so I like to use the point stick on my Pure Wave, and I already showed you where the muscle attaches down here below that inside upper point. If I go a little bit higher, that's where a pretty common trigger point will be. And if I go a little bit higher and in, that's where the second trigger point will end up. With the point stick, I like to crank this sucker up and dig in there for a couple of minutes. And with a little bit of time, working it around, man, that feels good. With a little bit of time, your trigger point starts to relax. Now, the question is, what do you do if you don't have your Pure Wave on hand because your spouse stole it and is working on their own aches and pains, or perhaps you brought it to the office with you yesterday after a wicked racquetball game and left it there? Here's the next tool that you could possibly use. You grab the Theracane. You can take the hook side, flip it up and around, and dig into those trigger points there as well. You got the one set, or a little bit up and in is the second set of trigger points. Dig around for a little bit, kind of find your sweet spot, and there you go. That's how you can release the trigger points. But next, let's go into how we're going to get some length back into the muscle once the trigger points are relaxed. My favorite route to getting healthy length back to a tight muscle is using PNF stretches. And for a tight levator scapulae, it's going to go a little bit like this. I'm assuming I'm going to go ahead and want to stretch the levator on my left side. So I like to take that hand and either stick it in my pants pocket, a belt loop, or maybe even just inside the waistband of my pants or my shorts. And that essentially just helps keep my arm kind of stabilized in its place. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and take my nose and try and smell my opposite armpit. That starts to get a nice stretch into the muscle. And while I'm there, then I'm going to take the armpit that I'm smelling, I'm going to take those fingers, I'm going to reach around to the opposite side, right in the back of my head, which, as you can notice, is pretty close to where the muscle attaches. And then from there, I'm going to pull farther into the stretch until you can get back, basically as far as you can go. And then at that point, I'm going to engage the muscle to pull back into my fingertips. Hold it for 5 seconds. At the count of 5, I'm going to relax the muscle, relax my breath, go a little bit farther into the stretch for 3 to 5 full repetitions. Looks kind of like this. 4 and 5. It's that simple. You can repeat it about 3 to 5 times like I said, and that's the method I like to use to get tight trigger points to relax and healthy length back into a tight levator scapulae. I'm Coach Jeremy Dreyer. I'll see you in the next video.